Friends and enemies, I am making a advertising intro after the fact because I didn't record any ads when Mark was over here. Great rip. You guys are really going to enjoy it. Sponsored by Mark and EasyDNS. Best place for you to host your content, port a website, buy a website, bring a domain over, whatever you want to do. Mark's got your back. If you go to the EasyDNS website, easydns.com, use the promo code CBP Media, you get 50% off your first round of buys. And you can buy a bunch of stuff. You can buy a domain, as I mentioned. You can buy DNS Professional. You can buy Easymail. You can buy Domain Share. Tons of stuff to keep you and your data safe, which is huge, man. Huge. There was just that story that came out a little while ago. Someone got, I guess hacked is the word, but certainly had their Bitcoin stolen because they allowed some weird link in an email to fool them. And, if you're working with Mark, that's the kind of stuff that you can have taken care of before it gets you. Not to mention, you can do stuff like get an AI name generator for your website if you want. That's always hard picking a website name. But anyway, there's tons of stuff over at EasyDNS. Virtual private server stuff like Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, all doable, all easy, and all on the cheap. CBP Media is the code. Like I said, 50% off your first full cart. Bull Bitcoin's second sponsor. Best place for you to buy and sell Bitcoin. I don't know why you'd be selling right now. A little bit of a price run yesterday. Continuing today. We like that. If you want to sell and use it for something, maybe you want to pay some bills, you can do that over at Bull Bitcoin, buy gift cards, or use the Bills platform to pay like credit card, mortgages, cell phone bills, you name it. Everything except your bookie. But I'm sure that's coming soon. Our promo code is CBP. So you go there, sign up with the code CBP if you haven't already, and you actually get 25% off your fees for life, which is great. That's a nice chunk. Third sponsor is 256 Heat. I just came back from Twan's house yesterday. He helped me set up a brand new 256 Heat miner. I can't wait to show you guys that on Monday. It is sharp. For the CBP crowd, if you want to buy a 256 heater with an S19, you get 5% off, and paying in Bitcoin also an option. So you can't beat that. I recommend it. I know that you guys are doing it because I've seen some of the setups. Holy, man. Holy. No better way to heat your house than to use 256 Heat. Get paid to heat your house with hash. It's the way of the future, man. And then, of course, the Bitcoin Conference 2025. Tons of great speakers, tons of great activities. And, of course, all held at the legendary Rialto Theater in Montreal, Quebec. Last year was amazing. This year is going to be even better. There's no garbage. It's all signal, no shit coins, just Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin is important, especially for Canadians. I mean, we're seeing our neighbors overseas putting in digital IDs now, and not having Bitcoin is going to be troubling. It's going to be troublesome for you, going to be troublesome for your bloodline, going to be troublesome for your wife, your husband, whatever. I would be thinking about this stuff more and more, and the Bitcoin Conference will help you make the connections you need to secure your financial freedom, I think, in a lot of ways. But it's also a good place to get some pints with people you talk to on Twitter, which is equally important these days. So come on out to Montreal, October 16th. Get your ticket today. No promo code, but tell them we sent you, I guess, and maybe they'll give you a couple bucks off. I'm not sure. Enjoy this rip with the one and only Mark Jeftovic, EasyDNS.
Oh, I see you have Snow Crash. Actually, I was gonna get that Nuclear War book, and then I just didn't get around to it. Nah, you'll never get it back.
Fine, broken or something.
I'm like tearing down our office right now, like
Yeah.
just the little tiny like placeholder office. Should I move my mic down?
I don't know, let's see. I'll put the headphones on. We're recording, by the way.
Yeah. And I got all these boxes of books, and I'm like, I'm never going to read all these books. But then, like, I'll be writing the newsletter or something, or writing something, and I'm like, oh, fuck, there's a quote in that one book I want to pull out. And I ended up buying them again on Kindle or something, just so I can pull the quote.
Are you a trophy book guy? So you buy the book, like, electronically and then buy the book to put on your shelf?
Not for trophy purposes, but I like having the book. I make notes in the book. I dog ear my books. And then if it's a book that I reference a lot, I will buy the Kindle version just to have. And sometimes I'll have the audiobook version too.
I haven't done this setup in a long time. You can move your chair too if you want. We'll figure out the cameras in a sec. Like I said, this is it's been a while since we've done in person.
Whoops! Here I am about to topple the table.
There's a weight on the bottom of it too, just in case. Welcome back, CBP. Me and Mark.
Hey, Joey.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy. I guess we could do the ads. I mean, I'll just probably throw the ads in after because I don't feel like reading them all. But
not the corporate sponsors again.
Well, we have so much to talk about. Like, I don't want to waste time reading the ads while you're here because, like, you know, you have this long view on, I guess, like the rollout of the surveillance state collapse of the money system, and how much is that of that has happened in the last like month?
Yeah, it's really accelerating. It's frightening. It's accelerating at a rate that alarms and astounds me.
Yeah,
because I hate you and I. We both complain about the level of slop on Twitter or X. You know, the slop level is ridiculous, and just the hysteria has always been ridiculous, and people posting, you know, screen grabs with just sensational, bombastic things is annoying. But now, like, there's all these sensational, bombastic things really happening, like the legislation that's coming out in Canada, what's happening in England with digital ID.
crazy.
Just everything is getting really crazy. And the problem now is I think we're desensitized to the craziness of it because of this epidemic of slop that preceded it.
Do you think people even realize the digital ID thing that's going on in the UK? Like that's really fresh yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was up at like 5:30 this morning trying to find like anything live from whatever that leaders conference is that's going on in the UK or New York or whatever it is. Because there's tons of stuff. Like Sky News has something and BBC's got something. There's not a single live anything from any European or UK leader of note about this digital ID. It's people who are incompetent and lacking charisma getting dressed down by members of the public on talk shows. It's people who are incompetent and lacking charisma getting dressed down by Twitter nims. But Starmer is nowhere to be found. This is one clip, obviously, him floating around regarding the necessity of people. You have to have that digital ID to have a job.
I saw that one this morning. I was like, wow, that escalated quickly, as they say.
Yeah, it's fast. And I think people realize for the most part that this is like obviously bullshit. You know, when there's I'm going to use pointed language here. These are my words, not Mark's, but like when there's like a 50 IQ migrant swinging a knife around at a daycare, you can't flash him the fucking ID and hope that he doesn't kill all the kids. Like that doesn't work. When the same 50 IQ migrant is groping a chick at a bus stop or stealing a cell phone riding by on a scooter or robbing a grocery store or whatever, explain to me how the digital ID solves that problem. I don't think anyone's problem in the UK is that people are migrating there and working. That would be okay, probably, in a lot of cases. The problem they're having is they're migrating there, living for free and causing chaos. You know, cultural destruction is the term I'll use. Everyone on Twitter is saying this. Guys like Farage taking advantage of it politically, of course, but I think they mean it when they say they don't want it. I'm not familiar with all the political stripes in the UK, but there's definitely more than one, including people in Starmer's party, saying, I don't know if I want to get behind this. This is a weird hill to die on for Starmer at a time when I think he's broadly unpopular. Most of the polling has Farage winning the next election in what I guess would be a landslide over there. Why do it now? Why now for this idea?
Yeah, I know. I mean, in some ways, not in some ways, in every way, digital ID is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Like to think that you're going to walk around with like shrink wrapped pieces of plastic in your wallet, like that's like a 1960s concept.
Yeah.
So, and there's, of course, because we're into Bitcoin there, we understand public key cryptography. We know that there's even a right way and a wrong way to do digital ID, that you could preserve some privacy and some autonomy with it, but I don't have any faith that the UK would use such a system.
No.
What we'll get are sort of the straight ahead, well, not CBDC, that's kind of like a 4-letter word nowadays, but like the China style, the CCP style social credit digital ID is kind of happening everywhere. And for some reason, Starmer has just pounced on it in England, despite the fact that the country is practically burning to the ground around him.
Yeah.
On the brink of financial and civil failure. It's really something to behold. What is also scary, I don't mean to wander all over the place topically, but it's like England is sort of like 20 months ahead of Canada.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like we're hell bent on following Starmer into oblivion.
Well, we've talked on CBP and on Access of Easy and other places about like the bills coming through the pipeline in Canada. C2, C11, maybe is the other one.
I've lost track. C8 is like what C26
C8
was last time, and then there's that tuck-in bill to C2, which I forget the acronym. It's like the Digital Infrastructure Provider Information Access thing.
Okay.
Right. This gets tucked in the C2, and this basically means I pay attention to that because we're EasyDNS and we're sort of like in the crosshairs. That's the one where the regulatory burden to make an ISP or a digital provider give access is like a lot lower. Like you don't even need a warrant.
Yeah.
It's just you have to be ordered by an authorized entity or person. Like, what is that? Well, in the lists, I don't know if it is spelled out in this one or in C8 or in the previous C26, but it varied from like the Atomic Energy Commission.
Yeah.
Right. The Royal Canadian Mint. Like, you know, like all these places could say, yeah, I need all your data. I need all your info. In the past, you needed at least a warrant. Now, even that was a little on the Kafkaesque side. We have received sealed warrants delivered to us by CSIS on 2 or 3 occasions over the course of EasyDNS's history. No one you would know was the target of it. Like it wasn't Zero Hedge or someone like that. It was like, oh, I've never heard of these guys and they're on our system. So people who were below the radar, but you can't even keep a copy of the warrant, right? We're on, you know, Mark, hey, we're coming to see you. We have a request for you. When's good, you know, and you meet and they show up and it's like, here's the order. You can't take a picture of it. You can't have a copy of it. You can't even make notes of it other than you can write down the date, the judge's number or the judge's name, the order number, and the domain name involved.
Yeah.
You can make a note of that. And when you're done, we take it away.
So even that is like pretty.
That's Kafkaesque. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, this is a bit of a loose tie-in, but Canada Post obviously on strike now.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about removing door-to-door mail delivery. I think a lot of people, there's a tie in here that if Canada Post had any testicular fortitude at all, they'd make this case to the public. I would love for them to do it. They won't because they're, you know, wrapped up in Free Palestine or whatever other nonsense or shit their union members are paying for. But the Canada Post mandate is the same as the US Postal Service mandate from, you know, century and a half ago, whatever. And the mandate was we need a way for citizens to communicate privately. This is why there's such an eye of Sauron over private mail. You cannot open someone else's mail under penalty of law. Every modern democracy has these rules because of that private communication element. And obviously now there's other ways that people communicate privately. And so Canada Post, well, it still has that mandate technically, I guess, it doesn't really serve it. And if Canada Post was serious about protecting its business model, its mandate, and ultimately its union membership, they would say, hey, the government is getting ready to encroach on your privacy at every turn. If you want continued private options, you know, we're an arm's length Crown Corporation. We'll give you some kind of online private messaging service. We'll continue to give you private mail. We'll continue. But if you let us go, there's no way you're going to get us back, and there's no way you're going to get that back.
It would be a way for them to pivot from right now, they're antagonistic to the public. The public hates them. Yeah. The public thinks they're entitled brats, which they are, to we're now on the public side. And in fact, C2, explicitly gives Canada Post the ability to open mail without a warrant
for 6 months. For 6 months, yeah.
So they could harvest that and say, well, here's a soft spot we could push back on, and they could tell the federal government to like, hey, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah.
We're on the side of the people.
I would love
and maybe
that.
get some public support to say, hey, yeah, pay them 19% instead of 13%.
Whatever they turned down. Something insane. I wish I was getting 13% every couple of contracts. It's funny, like the digital ID thing, to go back to the UK. The number of people, and this is something that's happened, I think, just since 2020, let's say, or 2021. The number of people now who are at least on the margins, quote unquote, awake to things like this has never been greater. The people who are anti-big government at some level, even if they can't articulate it, has never been greater. You mentioned the UK burning down. People are being arrested in the middle of the night for retweeting like Palestine, Hamas.
Are those real?
They're real.
Because I've seen, I don't mean to interrupt, but like those cause me extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. Because my X timeline
Same.
is a dumpster fire.
Same.
Like I'm unhinged on X.
Yeah.
I admit it. I apologize to everyone out there. Sorry I called you retards this morning when you were talking about the Jim Cramer thing. Anyway, like I just kind of let it hang out on X, and I feel terrible sometimes about it. And it's like I look at my timeline and I'm like, I'm a real asshole out there.
Yeah.
So I see these clips of UK citizens having their doors kicked in.
Yeah.
Do you see the one with the woman officer
she can't use the barricade breaker thing?
But the thing is, I've seen some others, right? And I'm a community note editor, and I know you are too. I don't know if we're allowed to disclose that or if we have to kill each other now. But so some of the ones you see, like you see the one where it's like, oh, this kid is 8-year-old kid being arrested for waving a British flag.
Yeah.
And then you go through the community notes and you realize, no, wait a minute. He was charged for like an actual crime.
He stole some shoes or something.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's still excessive force. But my point is, like, you don't know what's true on social media. And I don't want to believe some of this stuff I'm seeing come out of the UK is true on social media. I don't want to believe some of the stuff I see coming out of Etobicoke is true on social media, right? But it's like, okay, are people really being arrested in the dead of the night in England for tweets?
I mean, we don't have to guess. That guy who just went on Rogan a month ago, the comedian, flies back to the UK, gets picked up at the airport.
That really happened.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, the kid with the shoes and some of these other ones where it's like, yeah, the police are talking to children. I get it. And I don't want people to post untrue things on Twitter. It's bad for the cause.
It drives me crazy.
And it's bad for the cause. And I don't want that, because it does make us easy targets. And when people call us, you know, when they say we're seeing ghosts, this sort of behavior lends itself to that assessment. But the thing that I will say is, even if you think that the kid did steal shoes and the police are there, those same police let Pakistani migrants rape kids for 15 years.
Yes.
And so like,
don't you have a grooming gang to catch?
Exactly. You know? You should have other priorities. And I think any police force would say that, regardless of their political stripe. Like, some things are more serious than others. And although the government doesn't seem to have a handle on the theory behind finite resources and infinite wants, the police department certainly does, right? They know that they have only a certain amount of officers in uniform, and they can disperse them and distribute them and apply them however they like. But they should be looking at things that are serious and have potential to spread and metastasize and all this. They don't seem to be doing it there. And the thing I think is happening all over the place, including here in Canada, is it's actually simpler than we think. And this is to your, I think this kind of lines up with your "there is no they" thesis. I think people are just lazy. And if you give officers of any stripe, any color, ethnicity, religion in any country an opportunity to say, I did my job today by arresting a guy who tweeted meanly, as opposed to, I did my job today by calming down physical violence at a migrant hotel, or I stopped a car thief in a tow. They will always choose the path of least resistance. They're like water, So we have to take away these opportunities. Like, this should not be something that police are ever focused on, that jails are ever concerned about, that politicians are ever speaking about publicly.
because clearly one of these things harms very few people, if any at all. That's only if you agree with things like hate speech being a real, legitimate silo of spoken word. Like, I don't think that. I don't think you probably think that either. You have all these other problems that people are like complaining about, dying over.
Yeah.
And the public is, like I said, they're awake to this now. You got to take away these opportunities for, I did my job with, I attended a Hamas protest on Yonge Street today. That was my job. I make $130,000. That's not good. Can't have that. And I think that's part of the problem that we're seeing in most of these countries now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word for it where it's just like, well, the priorities are all out of whack, right? Like here in Canada, right? Every morning, I confront the news, and it's not just on social media. Yeah, it's not just on social media. For some reason, I added like the RSS feed for CP24 to my mail reader, and it's like, this is a society in free fall. Like, this is the fall of Rome kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not being sacked by vandals, not yet, sort of, but sort of the long descent, like the John Greer book. Like, it took 300 years for Rome to just really go from empire.
For Rome to know that it was going from empire to crumbling.
But like here, it's sort of like there's a guy got chased down in the street and executed in Richmond Hill yesterday or this morning. You didn't see that one yet?
No.
It's like the footage is out there. And I actually, it looked like he was jogging, right? And someone runs behind him. Boom.
Is he a known guy?
This is all I know about it.
Okay.
And then you see a van pull up or an SUV pull up, and whoever did it runs into the car and jumps in the back, and it drives away. It was some house's surveillance cam, got the whole thing. And to his credit, another jogger came up, even while the gunman was still on the road, and he came up and he was kneeling over the guy and kind of looking at the truck, because a lot of people in this day and age would have I think I'm going to stay away from the live fire thing. Yeah. But that just happened. I just saw that like shortly before I set out to come here, and I'm like, wow, Richmond Hill, right? And then, again, I'm kind of like wandering aimlessly here, but maybe not aimlessly. There's a theme. The catch and release situation in Canada is just
out of control.
And what's bothering me about this is there's not a lot of follow-up reporting on what happens on a lot of these criminals who get caught. So a lot of times, these 12-year-old kids I don't know if it's the same 12-year-old kid or multiple 12-year-old kids who are like home invading and murdering people. Well, they were out. The one was out on bail. Previous thing.
I did see that. I'm laughing. It's not funny.
Yeah, I know. The two guys, and actually, I was trying to call the Brampton courthouse because I just wanted to know, but I was on hold and I just had to get into a meeting. But the two guys who, the guy who was trying to sell his car and they slashed his throat.
That's right.
And they were in court last on September 18th. I'm like, okay, well, what happened in that bail hearing? Are they back out are those two guys back out on the streets right now, or are they being held pending trial?
If there's no reporting, you know the answer.
Yeah. And in some places, like in some states in the US or whatever, it's all, the court system is all online, and you can just look up where they are and what's happening. Even the BC system, you can sort of see what the various different appearances are scheduled in that. But in Ontario, all it really is the next day's docket, right? You can see the next day's docket, but you don't know what happened to them after that. So you kind of have to call. As a member of the public, you're allowed to find out.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can, I even had ChatGPT wrote me a nice script to say, call this number, say this. But then you spend like 45 minutes on hold.
The process is the punishment.
Yeah.
And so it goes for people trying to find out more too. It's terrible because one of the things I'm seeing on Twitter, and I'm guilty of this too, like there is clearly a cultural element here to the crime, and politicians in this country and in the UK and other places as well. Australia still today, I saw in one of these leadership debates calling people who notice patterns in crime far right or xenophobic or worse, like racist. Like I think calling people racist is despicable, honestly. If you notice that a lot of people coming from certain parts of India are committing an outnumbered, like they're outperforming, they're out kicking their coverage, as the sports saying goes. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think it's necessarily racist to say that. I have a lot of Indian friends. I grew up in the 90s. I have a lot of Black friends, Indian friends. We never thought about this stuff. And I know that I'm not the only one thinking about it. I'm certainly not the only race thinking about it. I know other people are thinking about this.
But even second, third generation Indians are thinking.
Of course they are.
They're like, you're making us all look bad.
We spent 30 years establishing a great
integrating and working hard and building a business, and all of a sudden it's
and now what? Yeah, people don't come to my door anymore. They don't patronize my shop anymore, and it's frustrating for them, and it's not fair. And I think that what I'm seeing on Twitter is really to your earlier point about like the breakdown of society. I really, for the first time, and this gets bandied around all the time, this idea of like a civil war.
Yeah.
But how many more ingredients do you need to see? You have a crime ingredient, you have a racial ingredient, there's an unreconcilable political divide, which we'll get into here and probably more over lunch in a bit. I don't know what other ingredients you need for the powder keg, because it seems to me like this thing is lit and running out of fuse.
I don't see it happening in Canada.
Tell me why. But you do see it happening in the States?
It.
You see it happening?
I can see it happening in the States, partly because gun ownership is part of their DNA.
Okay.
There's only 3 countries in the world where gun ownership is constitutionally guaranteed. It's States, Mexico, and some other country in South America. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
Canada, we're too meek. It's just, so what'll happen instead is flight, capital flight, skills flight, intellectual flight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have our friends, the Venezuelans, who just, when the Venezuelans are fleeing the country, you should take notice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I that's where I see it happening. I don't ever see, I could be wrong. Like I could be 100% wrong, but, it is irreconcilable. But there is this inherent, like, just total meekness among most Canadians, I think. And that's, I don't mean to insult our fellow listeners who are not in that bucket, but like the media is the worst, the whole 65% of Canadians would fight a US invasion.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Which 65%? The 65% that are type 2 diabetic, or the 65% that are on antidepressants, or the ones who don't know what gender they are? Which 65% are you talking about?
65% of Canadians wouldn't lift a finger to stop a grooming gang, like fucking having a gang rape in a bus shelter 6 feet away from them.
Yeah.
That's 65% of Canadians.
That's right. I think that's right. And it's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
It's funny that, we'll talk a bit about the sort of naked politics that I certainly am thinking about embracing. I haven't done it outright yet, although I have received, at this point, it's got to be 100 messages about the direction our show has taken over the last year or so. Probably no coincidence it coincides with the birth of my daughter, honestly. Mm-hmm. But there comes a point, I think, for a lot of people where, like the saying goes, or like the quote goes, a reasonable person can only take so much before they become unreasonable in their response. And I don't think I'm quite at unreasonable, but I do think that the Overton window for what people are willing to say and do and support in public has really shifted in a way that is negative for cohesion. I see stuff on Reddit and some of the darker corners of Twitter about like all white enclaves. I see stuff about religious exclusion. I do think there's like, religious cultures that are inferior, I'll be honest, but like whether you believe these things or not is sort of irrelevant to the point. The point is that this cannot happen in a country that's supposed to have some unified long-term goal.
Yeah, this is a problem. There's in some elements, there is an overt racist element to it,
For sure.
which I'm not happy about in the least.
Totally.
Right. Especially like you see it when, sometimes some of those, I don't know what to call them. Those quick hit digest accounts will publish something about brown people doing the right thing. Right. Like a heart warmer.
Sure,
so it's like, here's 5 tweets of car crashes. And then here's some Brampton guys cleaning up a park.
I actually did see exactly this tweet, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And the comments are a dumpster fire.
Really?
Right. It's like deport,
still
fuck those guys.
Doesn't change the outcome. For
And so it's like, okay, so and to me, you got the noticing effect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you look at the graph. Of the
noticing, by the way, 2 years ago would have had saying the noticing or you're noticing would have had you branded as a racist, anti-Semite, whatever, right? Whatever the sort of flavor du jour was. This was now everybody says this.
But you look at the graph,
the
immigration graph, it's like, okay,
nuclear.
That's a lot of fucking people, right? And then you look at all the crimes. Okay, there's a serious correlation here. What can be done about it? But at the end of the day, and I've always said this, even before this situation, it's like the aggregate tells you absolutely nothing about the individual.
For sure.
Zero at all. So I get my backup about the racism and stuff on social media because to me, it's the lowest IQ filtering mechanism available. I think people will push back on that, but I'm just kind of like, it's a low IQ filter. So
it's too broad a brush, you think?
It's like, because, when you deal with people on an individual one-on-one basis, like how often do you come across like a real knuckle dragging troglodyte?
Yeah, never. Yeah.
Hardly ever.
Yeah.
How often do you come across people who are not the same color as you, don't speak the same language natively as you, like all day long? All day long, you're meeting people from like different cultures, races, religions,
totally,
all of it. And it's like, even one of the other 48 genders, you'll meet a bunch of them out in public.
And you don't even know it sometimes.
You just you order your burger, they hand it to you, you say, have a nice day, and you walk. Like, do you know what I mean? You just interact with these people normally 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 10, 900 times out of 1,000. There are no problems. Most people are civil. So I don't really like that, but that's a bit of a digression. But coming back to it though, the house is on fire. The call is coming from inside the house, as you like to say. Like, we got a problem here, and no amount of calling people who notice it racist is going to fix it. Right. It was like completely unrelated. The 2 doctors you just talked to said, you fix these 2 big things about the Canadian healthcare system, it changes the incentive structure entirely and it improves things markedly. We don't have to list them here, but it was like 2 big things. Well, what could you do in Canada? 1, bring the numbers down. Nobody's saying Fortress Canada, like screw the rest of the world, but we used to have a merit-based immigration system.
It was the best on the earth, probably.
Yeah. And we used to skim the cream unapologetically. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's just bring the smartest, richest, like not doesn't have to be the same, the smartest or the richest or the most talented or the most dedicated people to this country and let them do their thing from wherever out there. Let's just stack the deck.
Do you think that the reason that stopped is because these same governments realize that their policy positions are driving a wedge into the society, and to stay in power, it's not those people you need people who are on the tit. And so you got to bring in people who need the tit in perpetuity. Like it's frustrating for me to see stuff like the policies around, I mean, I'll call it chain migration. I don't know what you would call it here. There's probably a technical name for it, but someone who comes in on an LMIA is able to bring like their parents. That doesn't help us demographically. By the way, Canada's demographics have not improved since 2015. Like, it doesn't help us economically, certainly not militarily, or from the standpoint of being on the cutting edge of these all important industries, AI and tech. So what does it help with? Well, the only thing I can put my finger on is that it helps keep people in power. And like, I don't know what else to say about it. This obviously flies in the face of what we were talking about earlier, how there is no they, but it seems to me like they realize that these people vote a certain way. And everyone by this point is seeing these statistical outputs about if only second generation Canadians voted, you'd never not have a conservative government. But as soon as you add, because it's not even, because in the States they run it against like color and but like in Canada, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you've been here for 30 years, you vote blue.
Yeah.
But if you just got here, you vote red. And
Yeah.
it's like this obvious divide. And so I sometimes I wonder, like, did they actually see some of this coming in 2015? Like, we have to keep running these policies. The money is going to fail. The government's going to be in jeopardy. To stay in power, we need as many of these people as we can get.
It could. So to your point that there is no they, it is getting increasingly hard for me to believe that there is no they.
Oh man, you're coming off this.
I know. I mean,
the flagship point here.
Hanlon's razor, right, is like a founding principle of my worldview, and it's really hard to hang on to it. And if you don't know it, I mean, that's the one. Don't ascribe to conspiracy what can be explained by stupidity.
Yeah.
Right. I think it came from a Robert Heinlein.
Is it stupidity or malice? Or malice is another one.
But it's
right.
One of those. There's variations, I guess. Is it that what you just described? Is it that callous, or is it more like when I do posit that there could be a they behind this? I look at more of a naive, ideological, Fabian influenced of this is all for inclusiveness. We need to be more inclusive. We need to be woke, right? Yeah. And they honestly believe that this is the solution to say, well, we just have to, we've got low population anyway. We need more people. There's a bunch of people over there. They all want to come here. Problem solved, right? Like I that sort of blends both aspects of like there's this they motivated ideology behind it, straight out of Davos or a Warren Wager book, if you're familiar with him.
No.
He was a 1950s, 60s era thinker who kind of informed a lot of like the neo-Marxist movement of like building the city of man. Hervoye cites him a lot, Morick.
Yeah.
And he basically started espousing a global technocracy, very socialist in stripe, run by experts and management because the people are stupid and they're a dumb herd of cows that need to be managed. And I believe that people like the Liberal government of Canada, the Labour government of England, the Davos Club, Club of Rome, all those. So those theys, that's their informing worldview.
Is there not some truth to that?
There is and there isn't. Yeah, I mean, so you actually bring up something that I've often called, in my own mind, Mr. Rabbit's dilemma.
Okay.
And I actually planned someday when I finally retire, I've got like a list of 12 books to write, and that's one of them.
Okay.
So do you remember when COVID came out, Amazon put out a series called Utopia about
no.
So they put out a series about Utopia, which was came out right when COVID came out. And it was about a government plot to release a vaccine in response to a global pandemic that actually destroyed the fertility of the next 3 generations to cut global population
Interesting.
down.
Okay.
Well, they canceled it after 1 season. It wasn't the original. The original was a BBC series from about 10 years earlier that had 2 or 3 seasons to it. You have to watch it.
Okay.
Fucking phenomenal.
Really?
Anyway, the shadowy villain behind the scenes was this character called Mr. Rabbit. I don't want to give out spoilers, but Mr. Rabbit actually changes over the series, like who becomes Mr. Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I have to give this part away. One of the people who becomes the new Mr. Rabbit was one of the plucky sort of survivors at the beginning who sort of stumble on this conspiracy. It hinges around this comic book, right? That was like coming true.
Okay.
Great series. So they're on the run because these shadowy forces are chasing them. Well, one of those ones becomes the new Mr. Rabbit because he realizes at some moment at the end of the second season, I think it's like, oh my God, they're right. We do have to cut. Like he realized everything that they had set out to do through god awful, nefarious means had to be done. And it drove him insane. Like it fades to black at the end of season 2, and he's like shredding him. He's mutilating himself with a knife and screaming because he has just become the new Mr. Rabbit, and he understands the necessity of what they were trying to do and the terribleness of how they were doing it.
So what do you, I mean, you just wrote a piece. I don't remember the title off top of my head, but the gist of the piece is just shut up and do something.
Yeah, I know.
Instead
like
of,
some of those I write
about
for
it.
myself.
You know what I mean? So I want to talk a bit about that, and it's a good time to bring it up because we've spent, I can't see the clock, but I'd guess like half an hour, 40 minutes talking about these problems.
Yeah.
And, for me, I waffle between like, should I keep telling people how I feel at the expense of like, I don't know, like you said, your Twitter account turns into a dumpster fire. It's a mess.
I wouldn't want my daughter to see my Twitter account.
Sort of a weird question, right? Like who would I want to see this? So what do you do? Like, if you're not building a business or you're not running like a podcast or something where you can get some ideas out there and share things that you think are valuable, you do wind up in this like padded room almost where you're screaming at everybody who's screaming the same thing back, but nothing is changing. It's just like a layer after layer after layer of insanity piling up. That one day it's screaming gangs, next day it's digital ID, then it's you're at your meat limit, then it's at your car. Like people are, I think, for whatever reason, evolutionary for sure, but there's probably others ill-equipped to deal with this kind of stuff, certainly at this speed.
Yeah.
And it drives people batty. And you're saying, don't let it drive you batty. Put your phone down and do something else.
Yeah. So, the crux of it is the only thing you can control is your own reactions to things.
Yes.
And you can't nudge the larger.
As much as I try, Mark,
yeah.
It's so true that I just can't get anyone to do any goddamn thing that I ask them. I can only take care of myself.
And you have a daughter now who's very young, and you're going to see, it's almost like these tiny little people have minds of their own. Right. And
spoken like someone who's done it already.
Yeah. And so being a father really taught me how powerless I was.
Yeah.
It's just like, this kid gives no fucks what I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, the entire world gives no fucks what I think. So the only thing I can really do is I care what I think and then what I do with it. So I work on my own business. I work on my writing. I have a few different businesses. It's really the only lever point that works,
mm-hmm.
right? I think your kids.
My kid and my wife definitely just got home.
Yeah. So, I have this awareness as I say this, you don't know what's true. You don't know who's acting disingenuously.
This is so true.
You don't know who's manipulating you.
Yeah.
You don't know what is the end game. You don't know what are the extra layers. And that comes very close to like radical leftist deconstructionalist philosophy of there is no truth.
Mm-hmm.
There is a truth, right? It's just you and I are probably never going to get anywhere close to it. So the closest things to knowing what is true is what we can control closest to us. So, instead of sitting on the couch eating cheesies and watching hee-haw reruns, you are reading these books and working on a podcast and learning how to program Python. So it's like they're both true, and they're both true because you have firsthand awareness of it. So you can pick which one gives you a little more bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the only thing that can be done in this environment. What then happens, if you're fortunate and you get a little bit of luck along the way, your stature, your net worth, and your influence begin to increase. And then lo and behold, people tend to start listening to you more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what does Joey think about this? Or what does Mark think about this? Or what does, Michael Saylor think about this? Not to put us in that bracket, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like people sort of like fuck all this. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're like kind of functioning they're ahead of the pack. And it's like, well, I want to know what that guy ahead of the pack thinks because he got the head of the pack somehow.
Mhm.
He's not smarter. He's not more intelligent. He's not more talented. He just like tuned out all the noise and just stuck to the horse he was riding.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's what it comes down to.
I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. It's funny, I read that and I've given some thought to that over the years, not quite in those terms, but I'm left thinking about this thing you just mentioned about truth and how you're always missing parts of it, right? You ever seen Paranormal Activity?
Yes.
So
I've experienced paranormal.
Okay. Okay. So I have not experienced it, but the first movie.
Oh, you're talking about a movie.
The movie.
Sorry, I thought you were talking in general.
The movie Paranormal Activity
Okay.
is outstanding.
Okay.
And the reason I think it's so good and that people who like horror movies think it's so good is that you never actually see anything that should scare you on the screen.
Mm.
It's just jump scares.
It's all psychological.
Because in everyone's head, it's the worst possible outcome at all times. And everyone's worst possible outcome is different. This is the same way that half truths on Twitter operate.
Mm-hmm.
You will fill in the gaps with what you deem to be the worst possible thing or the most infuriating thing, the most emotionally rousing thing, and you'll run with it. And everyone, even if they think similarly enough that they can see the same end line, the difference between the 50-meter line and the 100-meter line in that race is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's the worst possible thing for each person. And that drives people to make rash decisions on Twitter and not spend time working on their businesses and reading and things like this. I don't know how in the current information environment, we've been unable to pin down some of that last 50 meters. We talked earlier about Starmer. There's no logical reason why a politician would die on this hill. In my head, I think, okay, this guy's on the take. He's getting paid. He's been threatened or whatever. But I can't say one way or another. So I don't. But Mark, there's a lot of people who do. They say whatever they think is true. They spit it out like it's fact. They pump out the surprise face thumbnail. They make the hour-long video, right? Like some of these channels, I hate to put, certain channels on blast, but like this channel that keeps popping up on my feed, the Western Standard or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like a guy in a cowboy hat and a girl who's like, more attractive than average, but not worth a double take on the sidewalk. Like, I don't know how else to describe her. God bless them both. But they're always like conspiratorially assessing news, whether it's about ostrich culling or election results. And it takes a lot of gall, I think, misplaced gall to make those assumptions on either front. But there are so many people looking to fill that gap that they'll take anything if it aligns with their preconceived notions, with their predetermined biases, right? And it's causing problems. Like the tribalism you see online, and now I think it's starting to leak into real life too, is poisonous. It is so poisonous for everything. Yeah. I hate to say it, but like I bet you if you ask my wife, she probably thinks now that I say some things in mixed company that I shouldn't say, even if I'm most of the time right a year later, 2 years later. And I bet you're the same way, like how many dinner parties are you posted on Twitter the other day, like a Facebook friend of yours called you a Nazi or something.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think a lot of reasonable people, I would count us as reasonable people, are trying to draw this line and walk this balance beam of, I need to say the things that I think are correct because they're good for everyone to hear, but I also don't want to have no one to say them to except the online crazies. And I don't know how you walk that line now. I have a hard time doing it myself. I don't know if you do, but I don't know how to fix it.
Well, one of the things I do is be extremely antisocial. So we don't we don't do a lot of dinner parties.
Yeah, okay, got it.
So I completely get what you mean. I mean, so a lot of my socializing happens really with Angela's family because I don't have much family left. And like, it's refreshing because they just literally don't care about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Immigrant family. Angela is from a family of 7. All of her brothers just like They have their own.
Just doesn't matter to
They
them.
have their jam. They have
Yeah.
their families.
Yeah.
They have their trades. They just like they talk about, oh man, it's getting kind of crazy out there, right? And they're pretty well on the same side of fence as us.
Yeah.
But they just, I think because we live more online and we are constantly bombarded with this craziness,
Yeah.
they're more sane than we are because they just, they just don't pay much attention to it.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
I'll get you out of here on this question. We'll go get something to eat. You're a father. I've asked some other fathers over the last year and change, maybe since Kenzie was like pregnant. What advice do you have for me as a father going into this thing? You have a daughter specifically, which is, I think, probably going to be a different set of challenges than someone with a son, although I hope to do both at some point. Right now, the thing top of mind for me is school and daycare. So we just got daycare, which is nice, but I'm concerned about sending my little one to elementary school. Like, it seems no matter which institution I pick, it's like just filing them off to Estrogen Elementary and hoping for the best, right? And so like I don't want that. That's top of mind for me right now. She's only 10 months old. What advice do you have for me as a new father and for the other new fathers out there? And there are plenty. I see people having kids on my feed all the time.
Yeah.
So what do you say to a new father? It's 2025. We're in a different era than before.
3 things. First is very general, like and I don't even think I need to tell you this, just be engaged and be present. And I mean, I don't have to tell you this.
Good advice though.
But the other 2 specific things, really, number 1, do not let that child set foot in a public school until she goes to university.
Wow.
So just whatever it takes, go into debt if you have to,
I'll tell you, I tried not to flex any financial freedom, but Bitcoin's been good to me. Obviously, we've been in Bitcoin for a long time. I offered a Montessori school in the area, the best one, 4 years prepaid for 2 kids. I don't even have a second kid yet.
Yeah.
I didn't even get a call back.
Yeah. So don't even go to a Montessori, go to a private school.
Okay.
Like a private school.
Got it.
So some of them are also just as woke as public schools.
That's what I see.
But with a private school, right? If your kid comes home with a thing that's like today's assignment was pick out the white supremacists from this picture, and the correct answer is all the white people, you can put the principal on blast, right? You can say, I'm coming in there and we're having a talk about this. They answer to you because their boss is the parents, not the school board.
Right. Okay.
And some schools are better than others. And I can tell you about some of them, offline. So number 1, never put your child in a public school in Canada.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Got it.
Number 2, or I guess this would be number 3, the biggest regret Angela and I have ever had raising our daughter was we thought we gave her a smartphone too soon, too early.
Yeah.
And she was about, I can't remember, maybe 13.
Your daughter's in her second year university?
Yeah, she's in second year university.
So you got to figure that's 7 years ago.
Yeah. But what happened was,
what was smartphone?
It seemed to be not terrible. And then COVID hit. And then so COVID hits, the kids are on lockdown. We're on lockdown. We still have to work. We're trying to like run the business and all this stuff. It's like the kid just spent 2.5 years on her smartphone.
Yeah.
And it's like, read a book. Fuck you, Dad. No, she doesn't say that, but you know what I mean.
But she's thinking it.
Yeah, exactly. And she's turned out amazing, right? She's in second year university, serious, responsive. Like, she's a great kid. But, there was a period where it's like you're watching your child turn her brain to mush on a smartphone. And it was like, now you don't know what they're doing on that smartphone the whole time. Like it was pleasantly surprising that she wasn't watching like stupid whatever.
Brain rot.
I mean, she was watching some of that, but she was also like, she learned how to cook pretty well.
Nice.
Because she just watched like every episode of not only Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, but like she knows how to cook. She sends us photos of like stuff from, I made this today, and so sometimes it's like, oh, some of these kids are doing on smartphones what I used to do with a pile of books when I was a kid, right? So that's possible, but we do believe we gave her a smartphone too early. So that was the one. If that was 2 pieces of advice, it would be that.
We don't even do screens now.
It's young, early going.
Yeah, they say to do it for the first 2 years. I'll be honest with you. I spend way too much time like playing video games. And
Yeah.
so I try to limit that these days just because the example is going to start to matter soon. My wife would probably disagree that I'm doing that, but she doesn't know the struggle, the internal struggle. It's my vice. And the other thing that I noticed too, that a lot of parents don't do is they don't give their kids a chance to exercise this like divine vision they have. This is a real thing in academic papers about children and sharing and co-playing and stuff, that kids who are forced into co-play end up with a negative feeling, a negative view of co-play.
Sorry, tell me what co-play is.
Co-play is like if you bring your kid to a play date and say, you have to play together.
Oh.
You must share. You must, whatever you're building this tower, here comes Carly. She's also going to build the tower with you. And kids for, I think it's like the first 5 or 6 years, could be longer than that. Someone in the comments will tell me I'm an idiot for saying this, but the idea is that kids have what's referred to as like a divine vision. They are unable to process where they're getting it from, but they know how they want something to look and feel and how they want it to, and how they want to do it. Another kid coming into that wrecks the vision, and they end up with less fun. They don't like the kid. They don't like the environment. And they get this feeling that, okay, well, I have this thing in my head. I can't do it. I don't know how to express that I can't do it because this kid is here and it's a problem. This is a thing I'm gonna have to tackle at some point, because like the daycare we're sending her to is private and there's like 3 or 4 other kids. But I'm curious to see how she handles it, because here it's like my daughter's name is Maya. It's the Maya show all the time, right? And as soon as another kid shows up, what's it gonna look like? I don't know. But this divine vision thing is something I've been thinking a lot about, because I want her to be able to execute on something and take a plan to fruition. Those are important skills that I definitely didn't have when I was a kid, but I want her to have them. And to your point about public schools, like I'm just not convinced that teachers, number one, are competent enough to understand that. 2, are paid enough to be patient and make sure it happens. And 3, that they are not like off their rockers and think they're going to interfere with it themselves as opposed to the kids doing it, right? Like I really do have concerns about all that. So it's funny to hear you say that setting your kid up in a public school is a bad idea. I happen to agree. We can talk to my wife on the way to lunch about that.
There's the odd public school teachers who are excellent.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of my teachers coming up.
Yeah, you remember. I remember. But how many kids do you think have that experience now?
And actually, a buddy of mine from the London music scene is like a math teacher, high school math teacher in London now. And he's like super cool.
Nice.
Right. It's like every kid who winds up in his class is going to be lucky.
Good.
Right. But he's such an outlier. Public school system is basically an academy for turning your children into woke retards.
Estrogen Elementary, man. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Love that.
Let's get out of here. I would ask you to tell people where they can find you, but I mean, you can do it if you want, but they mostly already know. So
yeah. Just Google that asshole CEO of EasyDNS and I'll come up first.
I don't know who else comes up, but I'll be at the top. That's it. Let's go get some lunch.
All right.
See you, everybody.